My name is Daye. I'm chairing this breakfast briefing this morning on behalf of the RIAI. I'm a member of the RIAI practice group, which is a group set up to deal with issues and queries arising out of private practice amongst architects. And I'm a director of Macaulay O'Connell Architects. So we're a commercial practice of about 25 people, largely dealing in the private sector. So we have our own experiences in terms of the 3D digitisation and BIM world. I just sent a few comments to make in relation to the RIAI, and then I have a few comments maybe just on my own practice and our own experience and our BIM journey. So firstly, the RIAI is in support of BIM in architecture, fully in support in rolling that out through the architectural profession. It's a founding member of CETA, very supportive of CETA's efforts to promote digitisation, improvement of the construction sector, utilising BIM. It's fully committed to promoting and adopting BIM in architectural practices, as I say, and we have a dedicated subcommittee dealing with BIM issues. And that was founded in 2011, and it's really following developments, standards, processes across Europe and trying to see how they would be implemented in practice in Ireland. And the RIAI Council has endorsed the use of PAS 1192, which you're more than likely all familiar with. The RIAI has also obtained legal advice regarding the use of CIC BIM protocols in standard forms of appointment construction contracts. The RIAI has also produced template documents based on PAS 1192 to really assist clients and architects in fulfilling their obligations to produce employers' information requirements, BIM execution plans, etc. The RIAI continues to monitor and participate in BIM working in task groups in Europe and throughout, through the Architects' Council of Europe and through the National Standards Authority. The RIAI is currently initiating a review of their work stages to conform with PAS 1192. That's quite a big process. The RIBA have done that recently themselves, and to really accommodate the whole 3D stroke BIM environment. The RIAI continues to work closely with CETA, Enterprise Ireland and other constituent members of the construction industry in Ireland to help make sure BIM is implemented in a strategic, organised and efficient way. So a key message from the RIAI is that people need to follow the standards and implement BIM correctly, that they follow agreed processes. So it's important to get those processes in place. So the RIAI share in the CIC BIM vision, which is to embrace a BIM-enabled world to actively encourage the Irish construction and built environment sector to continue to take full advantage of current and emerging information and technologies to remain at the forefront of industry in Ireland. So and there's two further points in relation to the RIAI, that with the recovery in the market, the RIAI firmly see the industry-wide adoption of BIM as critical to remaining competitive. And they also very much see that the government needs to support SMEs and micro industries to enable them to invest in systems and training required. Certainly in architecture, there's a lot of one-man bands and two-man bands and three-man bands, and a small portion of practices which are much larger. So there is a need for investment. It is a big investment for any practice at any size, and we'll hear from large and small practices now how they're getting on. Another point worth making was that during recession, the Irish construction sector had to be very progressive in seeking international work, and the Architects' Council of Europe figures show that Irish architectural practices were earning 22% of their turnover from international work in 2010. So if we want to keep at the forefront of that, getting work internationally, then we do need to embrace and adapt to the BIM and digitisation process. So just in terms of the speakers, Alan's already introduced them, but we have Paul Dodd from the Scottish Futures Trust, who's our keynote speaker today. and is going to give an overview of his involvement in the Scottish BIM implementation plan. Ireland, like Scotland, has got a lot of unique challenges in terms of rolling out BIM or encouraging BIM in the market, and I suppose we're looking forward to hearing how Scotland are planning their implementation roadmap. We also then have practices speaking today. Some practices both big and small have found that BIM has opened up opportunities. Certainly we find this ourselves in terms of design work and better ways of collaboration. And we have some good speakers today. We have Anthony Reddy and William Parr from Reddy Architecture, who are going to give a larger practice perspective on BIM and digitisation, and Gary Mungia, Box Architecture, who's going to give a smaller practice view of experience. And I've heard Gary's talk before, the RIAI, and it's a very interesting talk in terms of how small practices can embrace, because it is a big commitment to get involved. So we're just a few words about ourselves now. As a practice, we are. I just put 2 slides up here to show you where we're at. We've our own experiences, good and bad, in developing in the 3D world. And this is a building we're doing in Dublin, the centre of Dublin. It's about to go on site in about a month's time. It's first project that we've designed completely in 3D. It's fully integrated in terms of M&E, structure, facades, and it's an odd building where we're wrapping a skin around a church, which is there's a church hall, and then there's a church, then there's a skin, and then there's this goofy shape that we have. And so it's been a very complicated process, but it demonstrates where we're at as a practice. And there's another building we're doing, which is a large treehouse, which is a restaurant pavilion for Barrettstown in Kildare. And again, it's fully designed in 3D, integrated with all other consultants. We're not out the far stage of the full BIM process yet. We're really at advanced 3D, and we are in coordination with other consultants. So in terms of our journey, we're very positive about the power and benefits of 3D and BIM, digitisation. We're finding it slow enough. It does slow you down. As a practice of 25 people, getting everybody transferred over onto the right projects, and we find it's quite difficult and a very steep learning curve, but we're fully committed and we think it's worth it in the end. We're ourselves competing with UK multiples in Ireland, and we're also competing with Irish practices who are doing work in the UK, and in terms of what drives practices on to get involved and to advance themselves, as we feel that we're going to get left behind if we don't. And so it's not so much propelling architecture as a key economic driver in our practice. We find it difficult to get a lot of consultants to engage with us where we're designing and drawing in 3D and trying to fully coordinate. We find clients sometimes are difficult as well, so we're having to convince them to, when they're writing briefs for other consultants, to ensure that they're going to design in 3D. A lot of consultants don't want to. It's quite quick and efficient to bang it out in 2D, as it is for us. But if we don't push on, we'll never learn. So we're finding those difficulties. We find it difficult to hire staff who have got 3D training, and particularly in the lull in the market for the last 6 or 7 years. But we're just persevering. We do think it's a powerful design, development and collaboration tool, and we're finding it great for client engagement and just the whole design process. But we probably wouldn't underestimate and I know you're the converted here because you're at this conference, but underestimate to others who are embarking on the journey that there is a big time, cost and resource commitment, and that it does slow you down until you get momentum. And the guys will talk about their experience where they're probably more advanced than us and hopefully move at a much faster pace. So that's kind of all I have to say on that, as far as Grunt would say.